Welcome to our basketball coaching class presented by Basketball Immersion and Lucio Sports, where we provide a platform for top basketball coaches to dive deep into the details. Jen, welcome to the basketball coaching class.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you. I just mentioned it before. I've listened to, I think, all your stuff and been a member of Basketball Immersion for a long time. So I appreciate it.
Super grateful for that and grateful for your support and exciting times for you. A little transition from the college where you played to a new place.
Yeah, it's been awesome so far. Just the whole basketball journey, obviously starting at Quinnipiac and being there and starting my coaching career there as well. So grateful for Coach Fabry over there, who's a legend, for giving me that opportunity to get into coaching. And then I just finished my first year on staff at the University of Rhode Island with Coach Tammy Reese. Two great leaders, great coaches in their own rights, and just excited to continue learning from them and see where this journey takes me.
We're super excited to learn from you now. You're going to dive into a little bit of drive and kick and 3-on-3 simulation and build from there. Why don't you start us off?
Love it. Yeah. So first thing I wanted to just talk about and show is just a little bit of what we would do warm-up wise at Quinnipiac. So this film's a couple years old. We do different variations of it now at Rhode Island. But first thing, nothing fancy, but just instead of typical layup lines, I'll let it play as we talk, but instead of a typical layup line, you finish and you walk to the back. Let's get some decision making early in practice. You're going to see we've only got about 6 players here. This is a small group workout. So right away, they're seeing defenders. And these are coaches. We're not the most mobile. I jump in here at some point as well. But just the idea of seeing some pressure early, you're seeing right off the bounce, get by that initial defender, and you're reading the help. So whatever your finishing package is, whether it's a reach finish, a power finish, instead of telling the kids exactly what to do, let them figure it out on their own. And it's just a way, instead of ball handling drill, passing drill, finishing drill, can we combine all 3 at once? So that's really the idea when you only have an hour to start practices, whether you're with Kara hours and those rules, can we be a little bit more efficient with time? And the kids love it. They like when they have to decide on their own a little bit.
And they love it in part because it's not just memorizing and regurgitating, right? They get to figure it out as you go. And I love that application of this.
Yep. So typically, again, not spending a ton of time here. It's nothing crazy or fancy, but maybe 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes one-on-one or one-on-two with that help defender. And now we're going to build it up to, we've actually got 3 defenders. So they still see the pressure right here as soon as they cross half court, maybe simulating some aggressive defenses that we saw on the MAC. We would see a lot of full court pressure. So once you get by that first, now you've got the help, and then you've also got the rotating defender. So now you're just 2 lines, right? So you've got your line up top half and then line in the corner. So again, not telling them where to go. We can force baseline, we can force middle, but great example here. Comes right off, takes the middle gap, ball side helps, throws a strike right to the corner, catch and shoot 3. Simple as that. That's a great rep. Simulating game action. And again, anytime the kids get to play against coaches, that they go pretty hard and they like to score on us.
I love adding the drive and kick decision there. And just a general idea is to coaches is always just load a drill with +1. Just adding one more of something increases the decision making. And this is a beautiful example.
100%. And again, something we're going to do daily as much as we can. And then we also get the off the ball movement. So you're seeing in this clip here, we don't tell them that they have to just stay spotted up in the corner. If your defender is all the way in this gap here, turns his head, go ahead, baseline cut. And again, it's a finish with defense. I just feel like there's so many times where you're just warming up with layup lines and there's no defense. I know that they can make that layup, but then as soon as you add a defender, they're missing, right? Whether it's right hand, left hand. So just a good way to add more game-like real situations where the kids really have to make decisions.
Just for coaches listening, one of the main reasons is when they're shooting a layup or they're shooting a shot and there's no defense, the only thing they're focused on is the target or the rim. When you add the defense, then the last thing they're focused on, and for a less amount of time, is the target and the rim. So they're distracted by other things in their environment. So again, just an awesome example here, Jen.
Yeah, and one last thing, Chris, that I'll add to it is, especially at Quinnipiac, we were very much so, the guards did what the bigs did, and the bigs did what the guards did. So right here, starting up top, this is our 5 player right here. This is our center that we're asking to handle the ball. Did she bring the ball up the floor all the time in transition for us? No, she didn't. But working on her handle, because we played a motion style offense, she needed to be able to handle the ball. So I really did. And the kids, they got back to us when we asked for feedback of, Do you feel like that's a waste of time for you? I've heard both sides of that. Spend time doing what you do the most, but in the off season, if this is March, this is April, let's work on her handle. Let's work on her decision making. So again, this is our 5. It might not look super smooth, but it's helping her confidence.
Yeah, super example. Let them explore a little bit, let them have fun, and let's see what else they can do potentially for your program as well.
Yes. So next piece of how this is actually probably my all-time favorite drill. And I actually stole it from Cody Toppert. When he was at Memphis, he had a clinic. I can't remember the name of it, but it was similar. But I've tweaked it a little bit to make it cater to the women's game and just to the actions that we ran. But we call it 3-2-1. So it's an offensive simulation. Essentially, the idea is it goes from 3-on-3 to 2-on-2 to 1v1. You could use players versus coaches, players versus players. That's all going to depend on the time of the year and what your goal is. We typically used coaches because we wanted to force specific reads, help from places that maybe our defense didn't always do, but we were prepping for an upcoming game. We knew a team was going to be heavy in the gaps, for example. So we would really be able to simulate that as coaches where those reads would come from. And then at the same time, when coaches are playing defense, you can also manage the intensity level of the drill. So if it's Friday and we play Saturday, maybe we're not trying to do super heavy contact. So we can just be a guided defender more so. We're not going to be swinging down. And when players are going against each other, you want to let them play. I'm not going to tell them to hold back. So that's what I loved about this drill. We could use it in the beginning of practice against coaches. And maybe if it's a Tuesday and we don't play till Saturday, we can go live with it with players. So that's just a little bit of an intro of why we used it. And then also we're getting into multiple actions. So like I said, 3-on-3 to 2-on-2 to 1-on-1, and how quickly can we get there? We talk about NBA is what we call the next best action. So we want pace in between each. As soon as you shoot, I'll have the video in a second. As soon as one person shoots, they've got to get off the floor as quickly as possible. Coach has the ball, next one's out. It's go. Where's the next action? Where can we find the next advantage? Another thing I really like about this drill is that you're going to get 3 shots on every rep. So to me, instead of a lot of typical breakdowns, you'll do 3-on-0 or 3-on-3 where one player gets a shot and then the whole group gets off, right? So maybe only one person's getting a shot for every rep there. In this, one rep is 3-on-3, 2-on-2, 1-on-1. That's a rep. So everyone's going to get a shot. There's less time standing in lines, more touches for everybody, which I really like.
We're excited to see this, of course.
Yep.
But this is a great example. You know this in basketball immersion. This is a platform drill, meaning that every day you can manipulate the constraints or you can manipulate where you're running it, how you're running it, just to make it seem like a little bit different. But for you, it's a platform drill.
Exactly, exactly. So, like I said, the constraints to number of passes or dribbles. I don't love doing the dribble limit. To me, I feel like with girls basketball, especially, like a lot of times if you tell them 2 dribbles, they're reaching from the free throw line to get to the rim because they can't get there with another. I think you're on more balance when you can take more dribbles around the rim. But we always have a shot clock for this as well. So that's an important factor. 1v1 always is a 5-second clock. Everything else you can manipulate. But I'll let it play now. Let's see what we got. All right, so we started it with ball handling. So again, you could start it on a pitch ahead early in transition, but we wanted to get some ball handling, some change of direction in first. So we've got those 2 pop-up defenders. We threw the ball ahead, we caught it, and now we're playing off a closeout, drive, and kick. So you can set up the players anywhere you want. You want a slot drive, you want a baseline drive, whatever you want that day that you're going to work on, that'll be the action. So again, this is just a really good clip, the first one. So we threw it ahead. Right here, I would argue with Mac DeWeese right now that she should probably take this shot. Now, she's a kid that loves to put the ball on the floor. So are we going to stop the drill? No. And that's the biggest piece. When we're doing the 3-2-1 simulation, this is let the kids play through. If we're going to correct something, it'll be after the 1-on-1 rep. So right here, right, maybe could have shot it, but she puts the ball on the ground. Here comes the nail help. Kick out, one more pass. That's the 3-on-3. So whoever was in the corner that took that shot is now clearing the floor. That defender's off. Now we're immediately, coach has a ball ready to go at the top, 2-on-2. So now this day we were playing pick and rolls and handoffs for the 2-on-2. Those were the 2 rules that you had to be a ball screen or had to be a handoff. So here comes our 5, middle ball screen, 2-on-2 live. No constraints other than that and the shot clock. 1-on-1. The one-on-one, we let them go wherever they wanted on the floor. Our bigs tended to want the ball on the blocks. Our guards would go out to the perimeter. So again, you can tweak it to how you want, but 3-on-3, 2-on-2, one-on-one.
Jen, just before you play it a little bit more, remind the listeners who is being removed from the drill each time.
The shooter is always being removed from the drill. So once a player shoots, they now clear their ball, they grab their rebound, or a coach will grab it just so that ball is not in the way of the drill, and they get out and they fill to the next line. So once you take a shot, you're off.
And their defender.
Nope. So yes, and their defender. Yes, and their defender. Yep. So there, take a shot. She clears out. Defender clears out. This time we go dribble handoff. Playing out of a post up. She took the layup, so she's off, her defender's off, and now we're left with the one-on-one. And now we would score this, players versus coaches. So you can do threes, twos, however you want to do it. You can give a 1 point for the mid-range. We used to do that. We would devalue it a little bit depending on the day, right? So again, the kids love it. We played at 21 or you played at time, and the kids really enjoy it. And again, you can moderate the intensities. This time we get a baseline drive. Corner
I love
player
that.
shoot.
The coach actually stimulated that intentionally.
Exactly. Great point, Chris. Yeah. So right here, again, when the coaches are playing defense, we can really encourage the plays that we want. So I didn't even drop down to take the corner. I left the corner open. Shooter gets off. Now we've got a guard and a big, so they go pick and roll. And we let them know when we block their shots and we get some stops down there.
Of course.
And there's one-on-one with a post player. Seal, finish.
Love this.
Yep. And again, you can go a slot drive. You can get a corner drive. You can just mess around with all the different actions, right? We started to run some split action. So maybe the 3-man action started out of a flash and then a low split or a high split. And then the 2-on-2, now you can play, hey, are we ghosting the screen today? You can either set it or you can ghost. 1-on-1, hey, maybe we're playing, it has to be off a closeout or it has to be off of a post up. Really can just change all of the constraints for it.
I can just imagine how much your players enjoy this, as opposed to just doing these on-air reps of these sequences, the NBAs, or even your offensive sequences and stuff. You can do it all out of this drill where they get to work on all these actions in the context of the game.
I love it. Yep. And we, at the same time, it's like moving forward to something I've thought about is how can we make this a defensive drill too, in a way? Can we take the other team's actions that we're going to play upcoming game and build those at a 3-on-3? What's our pick and roll coverage going to be that day? Can we play that in 3-on-3 and then immediately get to the 2-on-2 where now, there's a 2-on-2 action, and then who's their team's best player personnel wise? When it's 1-on-1, where that's their star player, you roll the ball out, we've got to force them left. So just thinking of how you can continue to be creative with it, that's something that I hope to talk to our staff with Rhode Island this year.
I love it. And obviously, a lot of teams high school below would be doing this offense versus defense anyway, so you'd be getting the two-way reps for your players. And then another thing is to just think about you could only possibly remove one player instead of both players. So if the offense shoots, the offense leaves, the defense stays, so the defense has an advantage, or vice versa, and just constantly mess with it in different ways. And I love this simple concept.
Yeah. And then, like you said, that's actually a really good idea to either leave one on. And then also you have more players depending on the team. You could obviously start it in a 4-on-4 as well. 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and you don't always have to end with 1-on-1. But to me, it's like the 1-on-1 is everyone's on the sideline. Go get a bucket, 5, 4, 3, and everyone's counting down. And that's where the fun part comes in. And it opens your eyes as a coach too. Who can really create for themselves a little bit?
Jen, this is awesome to see. Let's watch a little bit more, and maybe you can highlight a few of the other benefits that you see for this drill.
Yeah, so another thing is I know a lot of coaches might want to work on particular moves right away in the beginning of practice. Like I alluded to earlier with the 1-on-2 finishing, you could have, because we have the 2 pop-up defenders, right, or 2 cones, we are getting some on air reps. So if you wanted someone to work on a crossover, you wanted that in and out move, you could script those first two moves and then you're letting them play live. So you're still getting a little bit of what you want as a coach to encourage that type of move or that type of decision, but now you're letting them go and they're playing through it.
I love it. That's such a great point. And also coaches to be able to change shapes within this drill. So again, you're not staying in one spot, one side, all the different things that Jen already talked about. It's not a drill. This is a solution that helps players be able to get better and figure out. We'll pause that for a second. I'll delete that part where it goes to
Yeah,
there
thank
since
you
it's
for
buzzing.
goes to
No, it's all
finish.
good. That's part of it.
Yeah.
In coaches, this is a great solution to a whole bunch of problems that players face within games where they have to figure out solutions, and just an awesome example. You mentioned the scoring system, Jen. Can you just highlight a few of the other things that maybe you do to make this, or some, let me start that again.
Good.
Jen, you mentioned the ball handling start. What are some other dynamic starts that you use to be able to start this drill?
So we could start this drill out of a transition throw ahead. So maybe we have a player that's back behind half court. You could start it with a rebound and an outlet if you want. So now you're transitioning into the full court. So we might throw it up ahead, have that first player or coach up on the wing here. So we're working on advanced passes. Something we really talked about at QU was throwing the ball up the sideline, whether across the street or up the street. So you could work on that same side pass, and then you're coming in right to a closeout or a shot. Or you could advance the ball right to the wing and get that drive right from the baseline right away. So you could have two players, right? You have your point guard throw up ahead to the wing, drive it baseline, and then you've still got that drift pass in the corner there. And now you're working a transition attack. Another way you could start it would be pick and roll start, right? So you could start the three-man action with a side ball screen, a top ball screen. You could start in the horns for all you want. Anything that you feel like your team would want to work on or that you're going to implement, any of your three-man actions. And then I would just encourage, try not to script all three actions. So if you're going to script the 3-on-3, then maybe let them play, give them some spacing guidelines for the 2-on-2. I know early in the year for us, our kids in 2-on-2 would be taking up the entire court. Maybe we put a couple of these pop-up defenders on the wing so they can only use 3/4 court because there's going to be other people on the floor. So there's different ways that you can obviously constrain them. But at the end of the day, remember that this is a drill that you don't want to stop and teach and correct every second. You want to really let them play through this stuff.
Those are some great points. And just as we wrap up here, Jen, let's talk a little bit about you and your transition from playing to coaching. And particularly, I don't know, I'm over here, I'm really proud of you because I see the influence of the modern teaching style, the modern approach to basketball. And to me, this probably reflects what you enjoyed as a player, which is this opportunity to be able to play offense versus defense, whether it's guided or live, and get a chance to be able to figure out things rather than have someone tell you what to do all the time.
100%. You just think back to practices as a player and what your favorite drills were. And most of the time, they were something that had a time or a score, whether it was a shooting drill or a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-2. And then the other drills were always the 5-on-5 when we got to play. We all get as coaches the question, are we playing today? Are we going to play today? And that should never be a question of whether you're going to play today. So that's a big thing for me. And then the other piece, just with the coaching side of it now, just doing these types of drills where there's decisions and you're letting the kids have freedom, is you got to be okay with some organized chaos. And that's for sure what this is. Yeah, some of these clips look great, but there's plenty of times where the first person's shot, maybe the ball rolls through the court, so we got to pause it for a second, and then we get into the action. Someone falls down, you got to go to the other end. Like, it's not clean, it's not perfect, but the game's not clean and perfect. I think it adds an element of surprise a little bit, and it adds some spontaneity to it.
I love it. I'm so grateful for you to be able to share with us here. And Jen, I got to say, I'm so excited to watch your coaching career as it continues to evolve over time. So thank you so much for sharing the game with us.
I appreciate it, Chris. Keep doing great work. I really appreciate everything that you've put out, and I know a lot of coaches do. Again, thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching the Basketball Coach Class. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And check out luciosports.com and basketballimmersion.com today.